This summer, I became a part of what's been dubbed the Great Resignation. I left my office job and I started my photography and videography company, and I've been doing that ever since. It was the right choice for me, but it requires some preparation. Even with that preparation, there are things I need to learn on the job in order to get that knowledge. Today, I was hoping to share some of that knowledge with you, hopefully to help you have an easier time if you want to break into this field, or just to give you some more information if you're curious. First thing first, real estate photography is shot wide. On a full frame camera, I personally use the Sigma 14-24 f2.8. A 16 or 18mm will probably get you by, but 20mm is probably about that upper limit in terms of my focal length. For exteriors, I'll probably use a 20 to 22mm focal length for the most part. For crop sensor cameras, you're going to use the widest lens that you can get your hands on that's not going to give you any fisheye or distortion. Do some tests in your own home and figure out where those distortion points are in your actual lens, because all lenses do have it, and then learn how to correct that in your photo editing software of choice, such as Lightroom profiles. For the Sigma lenses in particular, are going to correct a lot of those aberrations right out of the box. Whether you're shooting HDR, Flambient, or single flash, having some flashes is really vital to doing real estate photography. Personally, I use some really cheap Godox TT600 flashes. They are wireless and I have a control module that goes right on the camera. That way you can just set up those flashes wherever you want throughout the room and they'll just fire off the settings that you specify. These flashes and some cheap light stands can really make or break a lot of properties. A lot of places, when you really get into them, are dark. Either the sun's on the other side of the building, they don't have a lot of natural light coming from the windows, whatever it is, maybe they just have a lot of really dark hardwood. When you have those kind of elements throughout a house, it's going to be kind of tough to get all the light that you really want, especially if you're just using practicals and whatever natural light's coming through the window. Adding in the flashes is just going to give you extra color accuracy, which is huge, as well as just helping you balance out your interiors and your exteriors if you are doing a window pull. A lightweight, compact tripod is your best friend in real estate photography. I highly recommend one with a bubble level, as that's going to help you just get your camera level and not have to do any of that fiddling in post-production, and because especially when you are when your angle is incorrect, you need to crop in a little bit, and so you lose some of the wideness that you were just inherently going for with this field. I don't recommend bringing your studio photography tripod. Like for example, I have my camera right now on an Enduro Stealth tripod here. Way too big for real estate photography. Unless I'm literally shooting a commercial property, this just takes up too much space. It also lacks the center column that moves up and down that you can use just to get a few extra inches, which is really useful for just going up and down, just helping match your eye lines for cabinets and surfaces throughout a property. A lot of bathrooms and hallways are really tight, and you do not want to be the photographer who's walking around with his equipment and then just bumps into the corner or bangs into the wall. You look really unprofessional and sloppy, and you will feel like a jerk. Not only that, the homeowners see it, they don't like it, and they're probably going to talk to the realtor. The realtors and homeowners talk probably more than you and the realtors talk overall. So this one can be tricky, depending on the airspace in your area. If you really do want to offer drone photography, which most realtors are looking for, you need your Class 107 license. As many of you know, in order to make money using your drone, you need the Federal 107 license. There's a lot of resources for the test, and in particular, I studied Tony and Chelsea Northam's video guide, and having studied that, I watched it 3 times, as well as reviewing the material that was updated in the years since that video was created. There are some new rules and regulations that have come out in the years since. Make sure you study those, as well as just the Tony and Chelsea video. Watch that twice, I would say, and then just breeze through the new material on your own, and I passed with a 90%, so you can do it too. You only need 70% in order to get your license altogether, so you have a pretty good margin for error on that one. Over the pandemic, 360-degree tours of houses became remarkably popular. Seeing as I entered the market in mid-2021, I was late to this trend. As a result, I have personally not invested in a Matterport system, and also their pricing leads me to ask some questions about whether or not that will ultimately be worth it for my business. However, this lack has created an opportunity for me. Now, I work with another local photographer who does own a Matterport system. Whenever I get a property where the homeowner wants one of those tours, I'm going to still be doing the still photography, the drone work, and if they want to do a video walkthrough with a nice camera, I will do that too. But we'll always have the other photographer coming in, and he'll be doing the 360 tour on the Matterport. Alternatively, whenever he gets a house that's too big for him to both do the 360 tour and to shoot some stills of, he will always call me up, and we've worked together now probably a dozen times on just different properties. Build a few of those relationships, and they'll pay for themselves. I'm incredibly grateful for having made that relationship in particular, both in having a good mentor through this individual who's been in the field a lot longer than I have, and also just the fact that it's helped get me work through the slow season here, which is November and December in particular, is when real estate photography is going to slow down quite a bit. After New Year's, things pick up again, and in March, things will really hit full steam again, at least here in New England where I am. Video tours are somewhat uncommon in my market, with only houses in the 800,000 and up range usually having that feature. The shorter period in which houses are getting sold has made video a bit less of an asset. This is also the area where I'm going to say the least, because I think that my experience is out of sync with the wider market, having looked at other real estate photographers and videographers in other markets, not particularly my area. They tend to have a lot more work with video type of walkthroughs. I've done a couple, it's not something that's coming up for me every week. Social media, let's be honest. I don't like social media. I don't completely understand it. I don't even understand completely how people use it nowadays. I'm 26 and I feel like I'm old now. All the same, having a web presence is vital. You will not get by nowadays without having yourself online. I've got both an Instagram and Facebook page where I advertise at least 3 times a week on each, and you can cross-post between the two of those platforms pretty easily. Clearly, I'm pretty not a very social media savvy person. Posting more is clearly going to be better, but at the end of the day, your biggest source of traffic for your business is going to be word of mouth. People talking to each other, realtors talking to each other, and that's how you're going to get your client base. That said, when people have questions about the quality of your work, if they want to see your style, you need to have a platform, you need to have a portfolio to send them. That's where a website, that's where a social media gallery is really, really useful. Realtors, there is no painting this category with a wide brush. Realtors largely have the same goal. Sell the house, make it look as good as possible, get the highest number for it. The actual individuals you'll be working with will be dramatically different. Realtors, you get all kinds of people from all walks of life, and it's going to be very interesting. When you're shooting, some of them are going to be like hawks or helicopters. They'll be following you around the house. They'll say, ooh, let me take a look at that. Can we retry that? What if we shuffle this over a few inches? What if you try that angle? They'll annoy the hell out of you, and most of these people are going to lighten up after the first couple times you shoot with them, and they start to trust your work and your process. But just know, when you start working with people, they're going to have questions, and some realtors in particular don't quite, I believe, understand what it is that we are doing as creative professionals. On the other hand, I've started working with some realtors who, right away, they're completely hands-off. They see the work that you've done on a previous job and they say, oh, you're good at what you do. You're the professional, I'll let you do your thing. They give you just the access code to go get the key to the house, and you just, there's a few times where you just walk in, there's no one there. You don't talk to anyone the whole time. You get both sides of that spectrum, you really do. And other times, you'll be coordinating around a bunch of other people in the house, not just the homeowner and the realtor. Sometimes you'll be working there with painters, maintenance men, landscapers. Who else have I been working myself around sometimes? Oh, electricians. Preferably you won't be hired at the same time to work as other vendors, but it happens, and it's happened a few times in my first year here. It seemed like, in my experience, the peak of that was in the fall market. Attracting realtors to hire you as their full-time photographer is going to take time, effort, and quite a bit of frustrating work. Building up your first few clients is going to take you a few weeks or months, and that's okay. When you have fewer shoots going on, take more time to be technical and get every single shot right. Really nail down your workflow and how you approach each house and how you approach editing. Get a style. Real estate is different than sports, events, portraits, and other types of photography that I've done. Cold calling or emailing realtors is one thing you can do, but I found it's really not that effective. you're going to run through a lot of your local realtors pretty quickly. This also runs the risk of you coming off as being a little bit spammy in your communication with them. And it's not always the right foot you want to get off on with realtors. Unless you are just starting out, avoid doing discounted or free work especially. When you set that expectation, it undermines your ability and the ability of every other creative to be able to expect and demand a fair pay for what we do. Another way to think about it, you go to a new restaurant and they have this great discount for the very first day they're open. You get a great meal and it's $5. You return now and that $5 meal is now $20. That $5 price was just a discount to get you in the door. Even though the restaurant was probably losing money on that $5 meal, it set the expectation. You don't want to set the expectation that you're capable of delivering your high quality work for this low $5 meal price. And again, when you're just starting out, or if you just desperately need work sometimes, I haven't had to do that personally, but I can understand sometimes you just need to do it, but free, never, never, never. If you've achieved perfection, you can skip this part. However, I'm a human, so this is gonna be really important, I think, for everybody. How you prove your worth to your clients and how you show that you are really a professional is in how you fix mistakes. Most people can handle things when everything's going right. However, when things go wrong, that's when you truly test your mettle. I've only had one real incident that was like a solid screw up with a photo that you can't fix in Photoshop. I couldn't Photoshop the issue out of it. Like a big dummy, I set up for a bathroom shot and it started to take us a few minutes actually to set up for the shot to make sure I was all out of the way and that I was gonna get the best angle of that bathroom. I click to take the picture and I lean back a little bit and my arm goes right in the mirror, right over, it was going over the hallway, going over some furniture in the reflection, nothing that I could Photoshop out and make convincing. It would have looked like garbage. And it was totally my fault. The worst part, I didn't even notice that I screwed it up till I went home. So from there, what do? You make it right, however you can. First thing I did, call the realtor. Just say, I screwed up. Here was my mistake, and this is what I want to do to make it right. You put together a game plan, and you execute. If you can do it on your own, even better. Now, that does not mean that you go back to the house to go reshoot it on your own. Do not show up to random houses. That's weird. Being able to fix a mistake is probably the most valuable skill you can have as a business owner. How you approach the situation and how you go about correcting it is going to say more about you than any regular project. And yeah, people will see it. Yes, you're in the hot seat. Yes, you need to make it right. But it's an opportunity. Homeowners come in all shapes and sizes, just like realtors. Some are going to be really friendly and they're going to stay out of the way or just want to chat with you while they're standing behind you or something like that. That's always really nice. I enjoy those kind of interactions. Others are going to try to walk you around the house. They're going to try to show you everything. And they come from a good place. They've lived there for how long? They understand it. They know the place better than you do, than you ever could. It's a little bit taxing when you do have a homeowner that's kind of following you around and just pointing things out oh, let me check out this perspective and all that kind of stuff. But not a big deal. What I found to be the biggest help with homeowners, however, is a few days beforehand, I send the realtor just a checklist of, common action items. Clean up the loose clothes on the floor, clean up the pet toys, that kind of stuff. You make sure that goes off to the homeowner ahead of time, and that's actually helped resolve quite a few issues from when I first started out. The first couple weeks, I was doing quite a bit of cleaning, and then once I started implementing this checklist system, I had many fewer incidents of that. With all the health stuff going on, I just ask homeowners ahead of time what they prefer for masks or whatever. I just go by whatever they say. It's regardless of anyone's perspective on all that stuff, it's just, if I'm going into somebody's house and I'm making them uncomfortable, I'm not doing my job. Every time I leave, I just want the homeowner to think, hey, that photographer was pleasant, they were respectful of my space, and good or bad, that feedback, whatever they have, is going to get back to the realtor. And that's the person that's going to hire you again. So have some shoe booties and the car doesn't hurt. It shows that you will be very respectful of the space. I've offered it a few times. I have not had an incident yet where a homeowner or a realtor has accepted or asked me to wear them, but just good to have them. People do they really like it, and it just shows that you have an extra level of care for their space. Same goes with shooting. I know I mentioned it earlier. If you're moving around your light stands, your tripod, or whatever, just fold the legs up. Don't smash into the wall by being lazy. Chat with homeowners, just get their perspective on the property. They probably won't tell you anything that you won't be able to figure out just by walking around and observing the space, but it builds rapport and it's just a good commitment to having your field. It's just building those relationships it's always positive. Pricing. First off, the actual numbers are going to vary by region. You need to cover your costs and make a profit, right? Otherwise, there's literally no point. So, here's my little checklist here of how I recommend figuring out roughly where you should get your pricing. Make a spreadsheet of your monthly expenses and be honest about your spending. Let's say that number is $2,000 for bare minimum expenses and licenses for your software. Alright, so how many houses are you shooting on average a month? Let's look at some figures with the following. Just starting out, you have 10 houses a month. At $200 per house, this covers your expenses. Or does it? If you're working for yourself, you need to put taxes aside for the quarter. Personally, I put half away. Whatever is left over from my taxes goes straight into my money cushion or my savings. Okay, if I'm saving half now, I need those 10 houses to make $400 each, which in my market is pretty expensive unless I'm shooting houses over 3,000 square feet. So 10 houses doesn't seem like enough, does it? Let's try again with 15 in my market. At 15 houses, I need to charge $266 to cover my expenses and taxes. I still don't make a profit, and I could bump that up to $300 to stay relatively competitive and take a few bucks home, but the price value and the profit margin are both less than ideal. At 20 houses per month, I know I can start making things work in my market. $200 is essentially the floor for most average homes, and it gives me room to charge more for larger properties. I can make a breakdown like this. Under 1,500 square feet, $200. 1,500 to 2,500 square feet, $250. Greater than 250 square feet, $300. Greater than 4,500 square feet, contact for a quote. Suddenly, the expenses are covered, there's a healthy profit, your taxes are covered. What's the biggest takeaway from this? Pricing is important. So is volume. Without volume, you're not going to be able to price fairly and consistently. But don't worry, as you grow professionally, this will get a lot easier. Create a standard for your pricing and stick to it. The people who value your ability will stay with you and watch you grow. Best of luck, my friends. If you have any questions at all, feel free to leave them down in the comments below.